is there's nothing about that UV laser that's incapable of creating those hazardous decomposition products. I think the term cold laser is a statement of like a nominal feature, a capability of the machine, not an inherent characteristic. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Laser Source Podcast, the #1 podcast if you like mannequin titties.
Hey,
There he is. So yeah, Kyle's here, Matt's here, and Anthony's with us once again. What up, dude? So yeah, guys, I don't know if you have actual engraving stuff to talk about. I have like 4 hours of talking that I can do about the shop reno and software. I'm probably going to take you guys on a tour of the Square dashboard tonight, if that's something you are interested in, and the point of sale, the online store. So I've got a lot of stuff to talk about tonight. But before I start rambling, I do want to give my co-hosts here a minute to just kind of go through their catch-up routine and see what's been good with everybody. We'll start with Anthony because he's directly below me. It looks like I'm looking at him. What's up, Anthony?
not a lot, man. Just a dream.
How's the biz?
It's going good, man. It's going good. Just getting geared up for the holiday season.
Yeah. You should be just about geared up now, right? We're at like, what is it, the 12th?
Yeah, I'm just basically just trying to get all the final details and stuff ironed out with customers about orders and stuff they're doing. So
Yeah, it feels like just a couple weeks ago we were like, you better be getting ready. It's coming up. And now it's like, here, it's time. It's basically time. I mean, people are putting up like Christmas decorations, which is disgusting, but they're doing it. So it's definitely that time of year. What about you, Matt? You got a big list of things to do as usual, or have you been easing off the gas a little bit this year?
Never kidding. Like what am I supposed to do?
Dude. Your new job's been taking a lot of time. I don't know.
It has, but then the other thing is like literally right after I just jump into this, and so basically I just got done with a big swim order. So like the swim coach gear went out yesterday. That was trophies, leatherette frames, which by the way, like thinking of gifts for coaches, she bought 50 of them, right? So the thing is she has 50 people on a team and she's like, I need it to be $15 or under. The leatherette 5x7 frames from JDS is something she wanted to do. They're not Johnson Plastics Plus, which is a great sponsor, but JDS was what she's familiar with, and she has a catalog of that from like the last person she ordered from. So bada bing, bada boom. She got 50 of them, and that's where you guys can make easy money. It was quick, repeatable. I think it was $10 in 56 seconds, right? So that's one of those things where it's just really easy peasy. And then the other thing, got this little guy. So I just got some black acrylic, and I was making some ornaments for a place that's nearby. So this was something that was really quick and easy. 1/8 black acrylic, and then zapped it on the fiber.
Nice.
Oh my God. It's all, there you go. So really nice and easy. These take about 50 seconds. I have 50 of them that I have to make tonight, probably while the show is going on. So you'll see me kind of moving back and forth while Alex talks. But these are the kind of things that like these, I'm doing them for $6.50 a piece because they're ordering 50 of them. So not bad, especially because the acrylic was super cheap. So I cut 18 of these out of a 1 foot by 2 foot sheet, right?
Yeah, at that price, you're probably getting like what, 6 of them, and you get your sheet money back.
Yeah. So straight up. And so it's one of those things where like, and I've still got extra to do a little couple keychains and stuff like that I'm going to give them too, because why not make some quick keychains out of it? So I can be like, oh, hey, here's something for next time. And so they're really excited to just hand these out. So, yeah, so that's the kind of stuff. Be thinking about ways you can make money easy and quick, right?
Cool.
So there you go.
And before I jump over to Kyle, Resin, I see you have some UV laser questions. Philip as well. We are starring your questions, guys, and we'll circle back around them towards the end of the episode. So if you do have questions, feel free to just drop them. If we don't answer them right away, we will circle back around to them at the end of the episode. The guys are watching chat there to make sure that we get those starred and we don't miss them. So go ahead and drop those there now. Kyle, sir, what is up?
So much. On top of the usual life stuff this time of year and the unusual life stuff this time of year.
Indeed.
I've been doing, so I had finished up another video on doing batch engraving using the Maxi Index. Those are ornaments. So I'm excited to share that. And I was working on another ornament project that aren't the glass ornaments that you guys have seen Matt do. Matt did a ton of them, like a virtual ton of them last year.
He's done a virtual ton of them, like on the show while we've been live.
Yeah, literally. Yeah. I just sat here with my goggles on, like.
So I had a little project doing some of that. So I'm just finishing up like post processing and voiceover stuff on that. But I'm also
I did see I got a sneak peek of some of the shorts that you sent Miranda for social media, and that index looks impressive. I don't know how much finicking you had to do and fidgeting to get it to look that good, but it looks spot on. I mean, it was really impressive from what I saw in the video.
No finickiness.
Yeah.
At all.
Yeah. It's incredible.
What's really nice is, so typically with a jig, right? You have to cut it to fit the product. And then once you cut it to fit the product, you have to fit it to whatever you're marking on. So whether you're using fence posts to hold them into place, or just putting in screws and like hoping they don't move around, or screwing them to the plate, whatever, you can do that with this. But the nice thing is you don't have to. You can actually use the built-in indexing fences that are square to the platform and slide, and you just set up an interval yourself. So let's say you're engraving a ton of items that are 50 millimeters wide or 40 millimeters wide, like 2 inches. You can set an interval of like 75 millimeters, and every 75 millimeters you have a fence. And as long as it can butt into a corner, that's your alignment. You're done.
Yeah.
So you don't have to make a jig for every single thing you do. And that's part of the appeal and the grab of that is it saves you some of the headache. So that's what I was doing with the ornaments, and some other stuff that I was doing. But another thing I've been testing out is actually the Longer Nano PRO, which is kind of like, it's in the same market as the Laser Pecker. And if the F1 was only in a blue light diode, it would be in the same market as that as well. It's pretty interesting. I like the fact that it's super tiny and light. It's a little bit of a learning curve for me because I'm used to like, it's either a gantry or it's a galvo, and this like behaves like a gantry even though it's a galvo, but that's the nature of
that ship with its own like software. It has proprietary software.
You actually have like 3 software options for it. So it treats, so the software treats it like a gantry, and the controller does all the conversion for the galvo portion of it, which is pretty nifty. So I've been testing it primarily with Lightburn, but there's also, they have their own software that they set up for it. I think it's called Laserburn. My brain is not working right now. I still need to go back and do more testing with that. And then you can also do your typical like G-code stuff. So it's interesting.
We'll hear more about that soon. I know the index stuff is almost done, so that I'm looking forward to getting on the final chopping block. Sounds like you're gonna have a good chunk of it edited by the time it gets to me. So
yeah, I have several videos coming on that I'm pretty excited to share.
Nice.
And then I've also been working on my 3D printer, which has been slowly killing my patience over the last 2 weeks. And by slowly, I mean quickly. But it's rewarding when stuff works, and it's really agitating when stuff doesn't work for extended periods of time. So I've been working on that, and that's kind of hanging up one of the projects that I wanted to do for the holidays this year.
Yeah.
Which is really disappointing. And I'm about to go drop more money than I should on a different 3D printer in the hopes that I can just get it done faster.
Is it the Bimbo?
Maybe.
By the way, you guys can see on the screen that little piece that I printed to just be able to square up like a little jig, a little fence right there.
Yeah.
I printed like 6 of those in like 45 minutes. It just zapped out like 6 of those, and they just sit right in, no screwing. And it came with it. So that's what Kyle and I were talking about, is just how nice the bamboo print stuff. So like, here's this little guy, and you just boop, drops in. So really quick, really easy. Definitely. Kyle and I were talking about glue sticks yesterday. He's like, I shouldn't need glue sticks, and I'm like, I know, but you might need it. So, anywho.
Yeah, I wish I had more visuals for the stuff that I've been printing with the Elegoo, because the resin printing has been so much fun, and I've been getting such good prints off it. And I've just been so busy trying to keep the printer running in between doing everything behind me that we're about to talk about, that I just haven't stopped to take photos. So I don't have anything to show for it, but I've been doing some rad prints. I've printed a Pikachu. I've printed a T-Rex. I printed a it's like, the chained dragons that
Oh yeah, those things are so fun.
I didn't print that, but I did print like that if it was a cat. It's like a cat one, and it's like stupid paws out in front of it. It's super cool. I printed a cheese. It's like a piece of cheddar cheese. I gave it to my daughter. She loves it. So I just all kinds of stuff, and the prints just are flawless, and they just come out so easily. I'm having a really good experience with it, so I'm looking forward to talking about that more. But I don't have anything to show you guys right now, unfortunately.
By the way, if I'll post the settings for this, but this is black acrylic on a fiber. So if you've ever done black acrylic or opaque acrylics on fiber, you can get a really nice, it's not really white. Alex and I talked about it before. It's like a creamy, almost like buttery color. But doing it twice makes it really nice and thick lines. Like you can see as it goes over the name here in a second, like that, it's really thin. And it's going to make it kind of chunky looking, makes it look nice. But I've got those settings for you. So if you've got a 50-watt JPT, you're good to go. Or you can use our, go to our website and you can use our settings calculator. So
it's like the world's lightest beige.
Yeah, it's like when you sit there and you're like, is it bone white or is it like whale teeth white? Like what is that? So, but I mean, again, for like a $15 or $20 piece of acrylic, knocking out 18 of them or whatever, just bam.
Laura says, "Are you selling those, Matt? I could use a few."
Yeah, I've got these ready to rock and roll, man. So these are, I'm selling them for the lady ordered 50, and it was.
I think she means the thing on the bed.
Oh, these little guys. Yeah, I got you. I could print you some and send you some for all the food you brought me at LBX. You kidding me? Got you.
Nice. And Yuri and Mark, I see your questions, and I starred them for the end of the show. Or we could do a question catch up real quick. Do you want to do a question catch up, like a question break?
Anything, yeah.
You want to run that, Kyle?
Yeah, sure. So we got a dodge, duck, dip, dive, and dodge in here. Philip says, I'm jonesing for a galvo fiber, but trying to figure out if I can do multiple items or if each has its own niche. F1 Ultra looks intriguing, but yes. So, I mean, you can do multiple items under any laser. It just kind of depends on what you want to do. Like if you want to do organics, like wood or leather, a CO2 is fantastic. A diode is fantastic. And then you have a fiber which can do leather, but can't really do wood great. And F1 Ultra is great because you have two of those options instead of one, because it has a diode laser and a fiber laser built into it. And you can switch between the two. The downside of an F1 Ultra is you are limited in lens size and your focal depth. So if you wanted to do something massive, you have to jump through hoops to try and do something like that because you can't just put a bigger tower on it, kind of thing. So it kind of depends on what you want. If you have an example or a list of projects that you want to do, we could maybe steer you in a direction that might be helpful.
I think we need like a big for the website or something, like a big like triple Venn or quadruple Venn diagram or something, so you can see where all the overlap is, but you can see also the exclusive material capabilities of each laser. I feel like something visual like that would make it a lot easier for people instead of
Like
just
a
making
flow
big
chart.
I
lists.
think that would be super helpful.
Yeah, or like a flow
Also
chart
the-
or like a feature list with the check marks and the X's,
Mhm.
and like the big
Yeah.
grid might be
Also-
nice.
Also, the triangle pendulum thing you were doing the other, well, it was months ago now,
I
but
think we
between frequency, power, and speed, and all
The
that.
exposure triangle, yeah,
Yeah.
that was a
Yeah.
good visual too.
we could also do the dealership dodecahedron. Would also be a good option. I think that'd be pretty dope.
Indeed.
Mhm.
We got Resin says, number one, does a laser source matter when it comes to UV lasers? Only one UV laser I've seen in my research states the source, and it was a JPT. You have a lot of options, but the problem with a lot of options is not every vendor, not every machine manufacturer carries multiple source brands. Some of them have a preference. So, for example, a couple of the vendors that all of us have worked with, a couple of them only like JPT or only like Ingu or only like NO or whatever when it comes to UV sources. And part of that is in their testing, they maybe just had a better experience with the way they set up their machines. Or it might be in terms of where they are in China or where the machines are built, they can get a better deal on shipping and a better deal and better experience on warranty support because it's less back and forth or, whatever the case may be. Does it matter? Only if you have a preference.
I think that the sources for UV have their quirks, like all lasers have their quirks. Like if you look at fiber lasers, you get into like the MOPA and frequencies, and there's a big discrepancy between different sources and their capabilities as far as frequencies and pulse width go. And then when you're looking at CO2 galvos, you have all of the weird little nuances with the scan heads and lenses and expanders, and that's its whole problematic thing. The only real thing you need to keep in mind with the UV laser, well, there's two things, and the second one kind of answers your second question a little bit. The first thing I'll warn you about is the two main manufacturers, I'll say, of UV sources are JPT and Ingu. And the JPT sources have a reversed pulse width. And so essentially, my laser, which is an Ingu, right? I started a pulse width of 1. That's the shortest pulse duration. And it makes sense that that would be the least amount of power because it's the shortest pulse of energy. And as that number gets higher, it goes up to like a pulse width of 30. You get more and more power out of the laser. With the reversed pulse width, for some freakishly weird reason, JPT decided to invert those numbers. So you start at whatever the laser's maximum pulse width is, which is still typically around 30, but it does vary. And as it goes down, as that number gets lower, it exhibits more power output, which is really weird. And it's something that's important to know when you get your machine. It doesn't really matter which you pick, but it is important to understand that the machines are programmed differently or hardwired differently. I don't really know where the exact difference between the two sources ends up falling, but for whatever reason, those numbers are swapped, and it makes converting settings and sharing settings with other people a little bit more frustratingly difficult than
It's a barrier when you're discussing settings for sure.
And then the other thing to think about too that isn't really about the source is the lens. Kyle and I have talked at length about this, and I know Anthony has some ideas too. I think we all have really. But basically, like I only really use my 100 and 10 millimeter lens. Like that's pretty much it. Because I've found that's where I get the best results for glass and stuff like that. And I really don't use, I almost saved the UV like literally for glass only, and like some weird polymers and stuff like that, or like some exotic metals maybe. I mean, I don't know. What do you guys think? Because I know I've seen people who are like, I got a 5 watt with a 300 millimeter lens. And I'm like, oh God. Yeah.
I use that for wood. If I'm at the shop and somebody comes in and they want something done quickly on wood, I will use that 300 millimeter lens on the UV with it, because it'll be a lot faster than trying to set it up and align it with the diodes that I have there, since my CO2's at home still.
Right.
So that's pretty much, I tried doing glass with the 300 once and it shattered the piece of glass because it was just not having enough energy density in the spot. So I just use
heating
that
it up instead of ablating.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this actually leads really well into Rez's next question, which is 5 watt versus 10 watt. Are there any limitations between them? Anything I can't do with the 5 that you can do with the 10? And this is a very similar story, but to a like hyperbolic extreme, as we see with other lasers. The more power that your laser has, the more flexibility you're going to be able to have using larger lenses. And it's not just the workspace that you're gaining from those lenses. Remember, we also have to worry about depth of field. And this is why I say it's kind of like a hyperbolic case compared to other lasers, because the UV inherently has a very, very narrow depth of field. It's very, very thin. It's a fraction of what you get on other lasers. And so if you move just a little bit out of that focus area, you are going to lose focus, and it's going to stop, like Anthony was saying, you're going to lose that energy density very quickly, and you're just going to be heating whatever you're trying to mark instead of marking or ablating it. So what that means for you is, if you plan on doing things where you think you will benefit from a larger depth of field, and in this case, I'm using that term very loosely, larger, right? We're talking about adding like a millimeter. But if you need that little bit of extra oomph to get around curves, or you think you're going to be doing something with varying heights on it, the 10 watt could certainly be useful, because it's going to enable you to use those larger lenses while still being able to kind of push the boundaries as far as what you're getting out of your depth of field. If that doesn't matter to you, and you see yourself only ever really doing flat items, or all of your glasses are going to be done on a rotary tool, et cetera, then it's not really a concern, and I don't think it's going to make a huge difference for you unless you've decided you're going to take up a career in like glass cutting. But again, that's very important, and it is something to be aware of. I really like my 5 watt. I've been using it for a long time now, and I do still rarely get frustrated, but I do get frustrated when I'm trying to tackle larger curves, because you run out of leg room really, really quickly with that. So if that's something you think is going to be a problem for you, I would spring for the 10 watt. Otherwise, I think the 5 watt is a very, very capable machine that's going to do just about everything you're going to want it to do.
And the other thing too is, see if you can get an order before it, like as soon as you get it. That was the best thing that I did, is I showed someone, I actually knew somebody who had a UV, and I said, hey, this is what it can look like. If you can commit to an order, I can get this laser in 10 days. I'll order the pieces, for the glass pieces too, and then everything will be here around the same time. I'll get it set up. I need 30 days to get this order done for you. And I think I paid, like, was it $6,500 for the 5 watt or something like that? This is a few years ago. And then I think I had a $3,600 order that was, waiting for the laser basically. So if you can do that and have a plan, or have a customer who you've already got something with, that would be really, really obviously a good way to do it. But just think about who you're going to work with and how you're going to pay that off, right? Otherwise, it's just a really fun toy.
I'm going to punt this one over to Kyle. Resin says one more. Spoilers, it's not the last one. Can a UV laser engrave or mark resin? I know with CO2 and diode, the answer is no, since the lasers heat up and can melt the resin. But UV is a cold laser, so is it safe with that?
So, mixed answer on that. So the problem with resin is that when you burn it, or effectively ablate it with at least a fiber, a diode, or a CO2, the burning action of the laser is what is decomposing the resin and off-gassing toxic stuff. With a UV, you're going to be doing more ablating than burning, but with the spectrum of the laser, there is a little bit of burning that's occurring. So you still risk that, and also the powder itself isn't going to really be great for you. So exhaust is going to be very important, and also dust management. It's still a risk. You're still going to want to do all the normal stuff. And if you are going to do it, you're going to want to take every precaution you can.
I think that cold laser is a bit of a misnomer in this case, because a UV laser is by no means only capable of marking resin. Any laser is going to melt something if you use it in a way that makes it melt something. It's not incapable of doing that. You're not incapable of creating those dangerous decomposition products, which is why I still very, very rarely, if ever, recommend people do a big one that I get all the time about UV is PVC. PVC is literally the only laser you can use to mark PVC is a UV, but it still requires you to use the tool correctly. And that's really important. The tool does not safeguard you against misuse. So going into it, and I know you, resin, of all people, understand the dangers of resin. I'm sure we don't have to explain that to you. But the one thing that I just want to make perfectly clear is there's nothing about that UV laser that's incapable of creating those hazardous decomposition products. I think the term cold laser is a statement of like a nominal feature, a capability of the machine, not an inherent characteristic, if that makes sense. So just be careful.
I think one thing that we overlook a lot, is particularly with fiber lasers, I feel like we overlook a lot on metal, is that you can get a usable outcome even if you're overdoing it sometimes. And I think that's fair to say about a lot of things, is you can overdo it and still salvage or get a usable product even if it's not perfect. With a UV, you really want to go through the low to high steps and slowly ramp up. So like you want to go with the lowest power setting, and a great way to test your power settings and to create yourself a visual too, with a UV, is take a piece of plate glass or plate crystal, like an award or something like that. Doesn't have to be nice. It can be scrap. It doesn't matter. Get into focus with it and do yourself a test grid and light burn. And you want to use pulse width and frequency, keep the speed consistent and the line interval consistent. And what that's going to do is it's literally going to show you where the power curve is in the grand spectrum of things, to be able to identify what settings you need to start low and go up in power. And it's very important for stuff like that, where you don't want to melt the hell out of it or create a situation where you're generating far too much heat in the beam.
I mean, even with the ablation, you can still ablate the majority of the material and cause melting or, burning decomposition on the parts that didn't completely ablate. Because I just blasted myself out when I did that Game Boy episode on the ABS. Sure, I got a really nice mark and I couldn't feel it, but it's still vaporized enough of the ABS that I was gassed out of that room. And I was wearing a 3M mask because I anticipated that I was not going to do a great job because I didn't do the due diligence that Kyle's talking about. But they can and absolutely will still do that. So that's another just kind of anecdote on that.
One more thing too to practice, because Kyle was saying especially for nicer, thicker pieces of glass that have a higher silica content, I think that's a great option that Kyle said. Another cheap way too, just to kind of see what your laser can do, and if you're just trying to figure it out quick and easy, to source that, the dollar store, I think Anthony was telling me there's frames there, like the dollar store, or going to thrift shops just to get honestly, having a frame is cool, but just getting that piece of glass that's really, really thin and you can work some magic on that, and you can really get some cool settings that'll transfer pretty universally, I feel like. Plus, that was like the first piece of glass that I cut to kind of understand how that works, because it's very thin. So definitely a lot of ways to do all the, like, take what all of these guys just said and apply it to cheap stuff.
Yeah. And then the last question that Resin has here, and this one's super easy: air versus water cooled. I see most of the 5s are aired and most of the 10s are water. That's, you're going to see that more and more as we move into the future. They used to be all water cooled, but air cooling is far cheaper and it's less maintenance for the end user. So as they've been able to do so with capable cooling systems that rely on air, they've been using air coolers more and more. That said, generally you're just going to be able to get what you get. You're not going to have a lot of choice, I don't think. If you do find yourself in the position to choose, it's just straight up air cooled, typically louder, less end user maintenance. Water cooled, quieter, more end user maintenance. I mean, it's very, very, very straightforward. I think the water cooled units are usually a little more expensive. At the end of the day, though, it is not like a CO2 Galvo. It's not going to be like rip roaring server fans blasting your eardrums out. The UV is super quiet. I have an air cooled one, and I can bear. I mean, it sounds just like a fiber.
Yeah.
So it's not that big of a deal. It's certainly not as consequential of a decision as it is with a CO2 Galvo.
The difference between a water cooled and an air cooled UV at 5 watt, at least, instead of one small high speed fan, you have several high speed fans going across a bank of fins, and the water cooled has one that essentially just keep the electronics cool. The air cooled one has a bank of them that keeps everything cool. And there's not a huge difference. A lot of the water cooled units, most of the noise that you're actually going to get would be from the chiller. And I would argue that if you live in a situation where, or you're working in a situation where that unit might be exposed to freezing temperatures, I would err on the side of caution with an air-cooled one, because you probably don't want the added maintenance of dealing with antifreeze in your cooling system. The flip side to that is it also takes up more space if you have a chiller. So if you're limited on space, then an air-cooled is probably going to be a better option.
There are myriad reasons why the chiller is less desirable, for sure.
And the one thing I would say, just to add to that too, is if you're in if you're in a 2-car garage like me without an air conditioning in a hot place, water cooled, and you're going to use it a lot, water cooled might be worth thinking about. That's probably the only, because it's like factory conditions at that point, like high humidity, heat, because then the air that your fans are pulling in is going to be hot, and trying to cool this thing down is going to be a beast. But if you're like me and you threw in air conditioning in your small space, it's more than capable. I think, like Alex and Kyle said, I've sat here for probably 6 to 8 hours one time just doing crystal after crystal after crystal. And it definitely gets loud when you hit a certain point because it's overtime. And that's when you maybe cut it down and give it a break for like 30 minutes, but then you kick it on and you can go for ages again. So definitely, like Alex said, the technology behind it has come a long way since it started, for sure.
Yep. All right, we just got a couple left here, and then I'm going to give you guys the fastest tour I possibly can of the new store showroom here. Mark's asking, using gantry OMTech to cut some leatherette bookmarks, packing them into a sheet, so some were vertical, some were horizontal. Noticed a slight size difference of 0.2 millimeters. Mechanical issue or setting issue? So he's saying like his x-axis is either slightly longer or shorter a run than his y-axis. Could have I don't know. It could be like a slipping belt. I think it's probably hardware related. That doesn't sound like a software issue to me.
I think so. It shouldn't be.
No, I mean it could just be a slight calibration issue. It could also be that the leatherette is stretching in one orientation better than another, which can sometimes happen.
Totally.
It depends. I would probably say it's probably just a small calibration that needs to happen.
I guess if you really want to check, you could grab like an aluminum sheet. Like they have like the anodized aluminum like license plate blanks. Something like that is kind of what I'm picturing, or even like some laser tape from our buddy down here, Anthony. Go pick up some of his laser tape and just mark 2 boxes on something. Don't like cut it out. Just mark 2 boxes on something and measure the 2 boxes.
Two squares, because then you have.
Well, they're bookmarked, so
maybe. But I'm saying if you make 2 squares that are like 2 inches, your X and your Y should be the same.
The same, yeah. So that'd be a good way to do that. And that would, at the very least, rule out a mechanical issue. Or I guess I would rule out a software issue too, and then you would know it was the material.
Yep.
So that would be where I would start. That's if you really need to dig into that more, make sure you're signed up for either the Facebook group or the Discord or the LMA if you're so inclined, because it might take a little bit more digging than we have time to do on the show tonight to iron that out. I'm sure that we could figure it out, but we'd need a lot more details than we can gather right now. But that's what I would start with at the very least. Our main man Yuri is here. Maybe a bit off topic. I just ordered the Com Marker Omni 1. It shipped from China to me in the USA. Should I expect a customs fee? I would say always expect a customs fee. And then if you don't get smacked with a customs fee, then you don't get smacked with a customs fee. Sometimes the sellers will lie about the value. Sometimes they won't. Sometimes they'll prepay the customs, and sometimes they won't. And sometimes you'll order twice or 3 times from the same vendor, and you get customs on one and you don't get customs on the other 2. So I just always brace for it and expect it. I'd say like 30%, just set it aside, 30% of the value of the laser. And then whatever ends up coming, you can handle it. And if it doesn't come, then you've got a nice little boost of savings you can go spend at Johnson Plastics Plus or something. Does anybody else have any advice on that?
I think the code is YLR-CDF, all caps, unless it changes, but that's just something to think about. Just throw it out there.
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah, I can't think of anything else. I think you covered it.
Yeah, all I was gonna say is if you do buy from Alibaba ever, just make sure that you cover that in your on your sales ticket.
Yep.
Because if you're for sure. Yeah, if you do have access to the person who is the salesperson, you can say I want that covered, or I don't want it, whatever. And they should be really transparent about that if you get that opportunity. So.
And sometimes there's a little bit of a language barrier, so I make sure I emphasize that several times throughout the process. Like if I do an RFQ on Alibaba, I'll include that in the beginning, but then make sure midway and before I give them my payment, I'm just making sure this is being delivered to my door, shipping, customs, all that stuff taken care of, correct? And then they'll say yes.
And the last thing you need to do is take a drive to your local port to go pick it up off of a storage container, right?
Yeah.
Deal with customs in person.
Yikes.
Yeah.
And then
they tried to just ship it to the port, and I was like, no. We said this was getting shipped to my door, so let's get this straightened out. So
yeah, make sure that conversation happens in the app where you're buying it too.
Yep.
Because then any buyer protections and stuff that would end up taking place to cover you if there is a problem.
Yeah. Yep.
You want to make sure the conversation's happening in the same place as the purchase.
Yeah, Ali, I think both Express and Baba and Pay are all really, really good at buyer protection. They're actually super reliable, but they won't do anything if you don't have anything official to back it up. And by official, I mean from within their environment, right? So if you do a whole bunch of wheeling and dealing via email and then just swipe your credit card through Alipay, and the Alibaba guys are like, oh, we don't, blah, blah, blah. AliExpress isn't going to do anything. Alibaba isn't going to do anything.
And then the other thing too is
discourse happens on their site.
Same thing with WhatsApp. Just be mindful of that too, because WhatsApp, if it's not the number that's tied to their company, then they can just be like, we don't know who that is.
Yep.
And I've never run into that kind of stuff, but that's just the kind of thing that I've heard. So that's pretty much it. But anyway.
Yep. Mark wants to know, Anthony, are you drinking out of a mug that's not branded with your logo? What kind of a laser guy are you?
I'm a loser, man. I'm a
Oof.
loser.
He's a pair to
I have one at work that has stayed at work that has my logo on it, but this one I bought because I like the color, and I haven't had the inclination to mark this one yet. So
I
It's
love
kind of
that.
like a tattoo.
royal
You gotta
blue.
know what you want to put on it if it's not your brand, you know?
I called for the longest time. I called royal blue Doom blue because, like, whenever blue showed up in the video game Doom, it was always like that really saturated, like royal blue. So now every time I see that color anywhere, I'm just like Doom.
nice.
It's a nerdy moment. Michael, ET Laserworks. Good to know, Kyle. What about gel-coated pens? Diode or fiber? Haven't done it yet, but will be trying tomorrow.
Is it the gel coat that's like a silicone coating? Because if so, those come out really good on the fiber. And from what I remember, the silicone isn't a problem with off gassing.
Yeah, I think silicone's an organic. That should be safe. Yeah.
Yeah, you could do that with the fiber. I've seen people do it with the diode, but I don't remember what the results looked like. UV would be fine.
Would be stinky.
Yeah.
I don't think it's gonna kill you though.
Yeah. Wherever you want. Try it on everything.
And if it's like that rubberized kind of like sticky coating that you get on like some types of cups and stuff, I found the diode does really good with that, where the fiber tries to burn and catch.
Anything dark enough to absorb that wavelength, right? I mean, especially when you're like in the blacks and dark grays. I mean, the fiber's usually going to pull through for you.
Yeah,
I know. I can't picture what he's talking about. I don't know what he's talking about. Post a picture, Michael, so I can see what you're specifically like, just to humor my curiosity.
If it's what I'm thinking of, at least I don't think it'll be a problem. The other thing that some people do too, if you're doing like jigs worth of these, tons of them, adding airflow so that you can hit them quickly to prevent flare-ups is also just a quality of life improvement for you as the engraver. Will help keep you moving quick.
Mark confirmed he is an LMA member, so he'll do a little more testing and he'll drop a post there to follow up.
Nice.
It may just be a little calibration tuning you might need to do on your X and Y. One might be short while one might be long.
Yeah.
Usually that's not a big deal, but
I think that's a common problem most guys run into.
Just got to do the testing to validate what's what kind of thing.
I know with diodes, like it's like a steps per millimeter setting in the machine settings. Is that similar with the CO2s? I haven't messed around with mine because I think mine's pretty dimensionally well set up.
Yeah. Sometimes you can do it from the controller. Sometimes you can do it from just do it through Lightburn. And you basically pull the settings from the controller into Lightburn. You can edit it from there.
Here's an important question from Yuri. Safety question. UV is a scary thing that's often associated with cancer. Any concern of potential health hazard of being near the machine when it's working? No, but giant butt, the biggest butt in the world. It's not good. Not good for your eyes.
Yeah.
Wear eye protection. This UV typically found in UV lasers typically is 355 nanometers, which is technically classed as UVA, which is not high enough energy level. It's not a short enough wavelength to damage the DNA in your skin. So just getting like normal skin exposure to it is not going to like cause you to get skin cancer. It's not like sitting out and baking in the sun. The dangerous
the reflective energy anyway. You wouldn't want to stick your hand in there.
Yeah, I mean, Jimmy shot me, and it burns because it's a laser that's concentrated to ablate material, so you'll be ablated, but it's not going to just like irradiate you. That's really UVB and UVC, which is much more heavily controlled by like the FDA. So devices that produce that class of UV light, you would see far more warnings, aggressive warnings, and concern over something like that. But UVA is fairly widely considered safe.
There are UV lasers that function in those spectrums too, but the UV lasers that we're discussing, the 5-watt Ingus, the 5-watt JPTs, the 10 watts, the 12 watts, the 15 watts, etc., the 3 watts, the source models that we're referring to are 355. When you get into the specialty class ones that are below that range, they're typically labeled for the wavelength that they're operating in, and they usually have a very specific use case.
I generally haven't seen UVB or UVC lasers outside of like excimer lasers. I mean, they're like really specialized, super expensive lasers that create those kind of beams. That's not a blanket statement. Always do your due diligence, yada yada. But for the most part, in
Wear
the
your damn
marking
glasses.
industry, you should be fairly safe. Just make sure you wear your glasses. Your eye tissue does not equate to your skin tissue. You can still definitely damage your eyes, so make sure that you wear those.
Yep. And
3DH. Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say Rob. I had highlighted him because he actually. I don't know if he still has those glasses because I know he had like a small set of them. But Rob from Weeded Widgets does have glasses too. I know he gave us a code in the past, so I don't know if that's something that's around still. But
yeah. Follow up, Rob. Let us know.
So, anyways, he had those glasses that were like they were better than what we see on Amazon, and they had a higher OD, but they weren't as hefty as the Noir. And then, really quick, Mr. H had asked about cutting configs on EasyCAD for cutting gold. So, if anybody is looking for that, I did post that video here for you guys. You can always go back through and look at all of the really cool stuff that Alex
That's
has
still
made.
a really good video. I stand by that one. So if you need help, go watch that. Make sure you watch both. There's one where I fail at it, and then there is a follow-up with me following some suggestions from the comments. Make it really successful. So you want to make sure you watch both of those episodes. But 3DHP was asking, what type of laser can engrave inside crystal? Those are called green lasers. Those operate at 532 nanometers, and they are like $10,000 to $30,000. They're super duper expensive. Rob from We Do Widgets has access to one, which is super cool. I need to go over and see it. He's really not that far from me, and he made me. I think I showed it maybe a couple months ago on the podcast. A 3D engraved crystal with the Laser Everything logo in it. Super cool, really, really expensive. Nobody's called me up and said, hey, do you want a green laser? So I don't have one, and I know very, very little about them. But if that's what you're looking to do, that is the machine you're looking for. It's a 532 nanometer green laser for crystal marking. It's a very specific tool.
I think a lot of the newer ones, they use actually two beams. So it calculates the position inside the crystal, and where the beams intersect is where that fracturing happens. And that's crazy, how you get that subsurface engraving like that. It's really interesting technology, but there's a lot to it. And then the software is like a whole other type of situation too. So,
and a fun fact, it's actually Doom Green. So pretty exciting.
Doom Green. Got it. Don Glasscock says, hello, I've been trying to log into the Laser Master Academy website. I forgot my password. It says that I'll get sent a new one, but it doesn't seem to show up. Make sure, so I don't have direct control over that because Mighty Networks runs our kind of like hosting for that, and they're the ones that send and retrieve passwords for people. But my recommendation to you would absolutely be, please check your spam folder. Make sure it wasn't marked as junk. Make sure that you're not, your email provider isn't automatically filtering things into the trash, because
and check
emails from you're looking for Mighty Networks rather than the Laser Master Academy, since they're kind of the host of that service. We just kind of like rent the space from them. So you'll want to keep an eye out for that. If you really can't figure it out, we can always nix your account and you can create a new one. And we'd be happy to work through that with you. If you're unable to retrieve your password, you can email us at like contact@lasereverything.net. One of the guys will get back to you and we'll kind of help you through that process.
Oh, Miranda has a good point. A lot of people get new emails, or they signed up using like, it says like sign in with Google, sign in with Apple, sign in with whatever.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times
those are called relay services, by the way. So if you clicked on sign in with Google, sign in with Apple, sign in with whatever, that's a relay service that's using your actual account credentials for that service versus signing up with your email address and a different password for just that, for just Mighty Networks. So making sure you're picking the same option you did when you signed up is important.
And that's very easy for us to double check for you. That's something we can actually do. So if you email us, we can go in and like look at your account and let you know what email address you are using just to make sure they match.
Unless you hit it with your privacy settings.
Which we can then inform you of that.
Yes.
All right. I saw a good question from Laura. We got to help Laura out because she's the best. Is there a trick to engraving a QR code?
I have a video for that.
Kyle just published a video for that. Yeah.
I'm gonna say it depends, especially on like the material and stuff. But Kyle does have a great video. If you're doing it on metal, one thing that Kyle and I found a while back was giving it a nice clear outline around the engrave was pretty schmancy. Made it pick up pretty fast.
Yep.
What do you think, Kyle?
Yeah, that's it. You did the metal thing. Aside from that, if you're using a version of Lightburn before 1.7, you have the original tool, which basically only gives you the option for the QR code. If you have 1.7 or later, you're going to have the new tool, which gives you an option of like 18 different barcode QR code options. In which case you want to pick QR code out of the list.
And one more thing too would be the setting that you choose. Make sure if you're on like stainless steel or brushed stainless steel or something like that that's highly reflective. A Z-Mark black you would think would be a great option, but it's actually pretty reflective too. And without that dark engrave around the edges, it is not going to pick it up very well, and it's actually going to be highly reflective. So you really do need something that has a little bit of grit to it, or something that's taken off. Like you could do a regular engrave, and then over that engrave do a couple of cleanup passes, and then hit it with a Z-Mark black to darken it. Just a couple of thoughts. So
yeah, and that actually kind of rolls into Joey's question here. What are some pointers asking for a photo to engrave on stainless steel pendants? Sometimes I get horrible results based on the lighting of the photo. Even Photoshop didn't help. There is a trick for this. In one of my very old videos, if you use the channel search, you go to the Laser Everything channel on YouTube, and then you click the little magnifying glass in the kind of channel bar, not the one at the top, but the one in the channel bar. It'll only search our videos and make it really easy to find. You're going to search for photos, silver. And there's an episode before I knew how to engrave photos. Don't listen to the actual photo engraving device in that episode. It's not very good. But the core of the episode was about applying first a flat white silhouette layer to the steel or silver in this case before applying a details pass, which contains dark pixels. Here you can see it there. So Silver suffers from a very similar problem to steel in that whenever you try to lay out a grid of dark pixels on it, you get the dark pixel grid, and then you get the reflect surface of the metal. So the trick here is to use a setting, in this case it would be like steel white finish, use a setting to apply a silhouette first of the entire photo, and then run a second pass with the actual raster image. And that will lay dark pixels on top of that white background you put on it in the first place. By giving it that kind of like white background, it's gonna your photo performance is gonna skyrocket. So I would watch that video, and then if you're actually needing help with photo engraving in general, go watch the Ultimate Photo Engraving Guide, which is still one of our most popular.
There's a part 1 and part 2 on that.
There's a part 1 and part 2. Part 1's really the one you want to watch. Part screwing up a bunch of photos and then explaining why they're all screwed up. So, but yeah, definitely go check those videos out. That should help you.
And with stainless, I personally have had pretty good results doing the opposite, where I engrave away like a light pass, and then I'll do an anneal pass, and then negative the image and actually engrave away the white part of the photo and leave behind the annealed part. And it came out really good. I mean, I think either way is really going to work well. But the key is to kind of disturb that surface and then try to put the photo on it instead of trying to engrave a photo on that clean surface. So
yeah, photos and reflections don't mix, right? So we need to have two separate ablations. one way or another. That kind of helped that metal to absorb the light rather than reflect it straight out, so that we're not staring into a mirror while we're trying to discern pixels. Whew. Okay, well, I think that wraps up questions. Oh,
One more.
okay.
Laura is trying to do it on wood and it didn't work very well. Part of that could just be the contrast. So if you're doing it with like the CO2, for example, you can try adjusting your settings to get a little bit of a darker burn instead of a light honeycomb look. It might help. You could even try defocusing a little bit to do more of a surface burn instead of an ablation. And that might help as well.
That was exactly what I was going to say. Is whenever I've had to do anything on wood, defocusing a little bit, but make sure you got a nice and chunky QR code, so that you can do that. And then for me, it's been on the gantry. It's been probably like 2 to 3 millimeters up, going up, and then on like the CO2 Galvo, I've actually had pretty good success going as far as like 6 millimeters up, because it's got that way deeper focal distance.
Yeah, if you're on one of the bigger lenses, on the CO2 Galvo, I mean, it feels like you're defocusing forever.
Yeah, I was gonna say, and then just to add back to everything we've been talking about, for if you're someone who's new here, and you don't even know who I am, I'm the one who's got the laser going right now. When you go to our website, lasereverything.net, there's a ton of free resources. And if you're looking at the settings and you're like, this isn't my laser, I don't have that lens, that's okay, because we have the power and lens converter here. So you can go in there and play with that and find what you need. So definitely make sure you not only do you visit the YouTube channel, but go look at all the free resources over at lasereverything.net. And
So
there's
many.
the buying guide. There's like the buying guide to help you if you're trying to figure out some of the things that we've been talking about. There's just so many things. So anyways, there you go.
Cool. I'm gonna share some photos with you guys.
Yeah,
So you probably noticed I've been uploading less often than I usually do, and that's just because Rhiannon and I have been just every single day that we go into the shop, we're working on this project. We're building the showroom. You guys have gotten a sneak peek at it here pretty much all night. And so I'm just gonna give you guys a quick little virtual tour. Let me know if you have questions. I'll be happy to answer them. Can you guys throw my screen up for me? And I'm keep an eye on chat because I'm obviously not going to be looking at it. But whenever you're ready.
You're up.
it's going.
So here's Rhiannon. This is the before picture. I only have one. I don't have any pictures of this room because it's hideous. But here's where we started. So it's a fairly small room. I'd say it's maybe like 150 square feet, maybe 200. And the walls are like this greenish off-white color. It's really horrible. The carpet is ugly. It looks like someone was murdered on it. So we definitely had our work cut out for us. These pictures aren't in order, so we're going to jump around a little bit. But one of the main things we did to up our game in this room is install slat wall. And I got this from Store Supply Warehouse. Store Supply Warehouse doesn't have an affiliate program. We are not associated with them in any way. So I'm going to talk about them a lot this episode. It's just because it's a resource that I like, and we don't have any affiliation with them. So just want to make that clear up front. The slat wall is super cheap. It comes in sheets of 4 foot high by 8 foot wide. So it was not a lot of work to get all of the walls in this smallish room covered. We did have to jigsaw and circular saw a couple pieces to fit in the gaps, but it really kind of makes it feel less like you're in the basement of like a warehouse building and more like you're in a store in the mall. It was the single biggest like game changer thing that we could have done. And I think it made a really big difference. So this is the slat wall. Just about everything else that you're going to see is either from them directly that I purchased from their website with the slat wall when I got it, or off Amazon with like afterthought things like these little baskets, some of the hooks and things like that. This is right inside the front door as soon as you walk in, and it's just supposed to be a display, I guess, of some of the blanks that we have available. I wanted to do a big stock up right before Q4, Christmas, and all that this year. But I don't want to spend a bunch of money on stock and then pay taxes on all of it when it doesn't sell by the end of the year, because we're technically brand new again. And that's something I'll talk about. We'll swing back around to that a little later in the episode. But just to give you an idea of the way we have some things organized, some stuff obviously still needs to be fixed. Like this one shelf up here in the top right corner is still one rack higher than the rest of them. But it gives you a fair idea of how we're displaying things here in the store. Just another shot, show some of the glasses. They're super dusty still because everything has come basically out of storage in the warehouse. So we have some cleaning to do. Also, if you don't have them, you can get these swatch books. I think this is probably the best picture I have of it today, but it's a little tiny tile of every material that Johnson Plastics Plus sells under the Romark brand. It's so useful. I love showing this to customers, and it's held up. It's going on like its 4th year now, being messed with all the time, and it's just a really, really good resource. I think they're like $70, totally worth it. And I would highly recommend it to anybody who finds themselves using Romark on a regular basis. I do have all the knives in the display case here, just because I don't want to get stabbed. I don't want to make it easier for people to rob me than it already is. So all of that is in the display case, and we keep the back stock that we have behind the counter. Just thought I'd show that. This is kind of an interesting setup here. So this is behind the front counter, and I've got this little monitor stand here that I've mounted to the desk. And behind this, and this is one of the photos we'll see in a little bit, is actually one of the B-Link mini PCs. And this has turned out to be a great ordering station. I may have to talk a little bit more about this next week or in a video, because we did answer questions for a long time today, which is fine. That's why we're here. I'd rather help you guys. But I do want to talk about this ordering setup at some point. We're using the Square point of sale, and in their invoices setup that they have a new thing called Square Projects, and it is perfect for laser engravers. One of my goals with reopening the shop was to get rid of paper order forms, and Square Projects does a really, really good job of not requiring me to need to fill out paper order forms anymore. So that's something we can talk about later, but I picked this particular setup because it allows me to sit here at the counter with the customer, and kind of like if you picture like how you would sit down with a banker at the bank, and they can always like turn their screen to show you stuff or like look at it while you're working on something together. This setup has really kind of lended itself to that. So it's something I'm really excited about.
Very cool.
There's the B-Link PC. Were the PCs that you reviewed for the channel B-Links, Kyle?
No, they were. It's a different brand.
Well, I'm pretty fond of this little guy. It does a great job.
Mini form.
Being the front mini forms. That's right. It does kind of a great job just being like the little front desk PC. But the ones that we picked for Kyle's setup,
they're very similar
as well. Very, very similar little devices. So if you want to check out a review, Kyle did one on that, and you can look into that as well. Here, this is kind of like my idea for how I want these pegboards to look, but it's not fleshed out yet because I haven't finished taking inventory of the million things that we have in the shop. But I do kind of like the hanging feel here with all the different colors. One of my big problems last time, I think, that I was running a shop was that when customers did come in, a lot of stuff was hidden in boxes or in little cubbies. It was really hard to see. And I want to get this stuff out in the open in places where people can see it and it can pique their interest. So I want to get as much hung up on these pegboards and wireframes as humanly possible. And that's something that I'm going to be working on really hard as we go forward with our inventory. Here, just a couple different uses of like the pegboards and hangers. We've got one literally holding rolling pins. You guys probably saw the pizza peels down here. I'm repurposing this t-shirt rack to hold sunglasses that can be engraved. So more of the same, just trying to get things out from boxes, out from their containers, and trying to get them in front of customers that come into the shop to help kind of inspire some ideas while they're visiting us. Free coffee, $2 drinks. I just thought like having a lot of my customers anyway, the last time I did this liked to wait for things. I had a lot of people that preferred to wait. So we tried to create a space that was comfortable to wait in. If I can make a couple bucks off of a couple sodas here and there, I'll do that too. We grabbed some K-Cups from Dunkin' Donuts and got a little spare Keurig that we didn't use anymore and tossed them up there so we can have some coffee while they're hanging out and waiting. And then this section over here, this back wall is going to be Laser Everything merch. These are my personal t-shirts that I just pulled out of my closet just to kind of get an idea for how we wanted to organize the space. But we'll make some merch and hang it up in there. And then on this side over here, we'll have more blanks, but I haven't really organized that yet either. So this corner of the room is fairly empty right now. But again, it's something that we're kind of working on perfecting. And then some mannequins, just in case you needed some nudity. I think this guy's looking particularly striking over here in his Cloud Ray apron and nothing else.
It's hot.
Yeah, it's pretty hot. So
I've seen a lot of laser videos that start this way.
so we're gonna get them done up in some Laser Everything merch here soon. I just thought it was kind of like a neat little salt and pepper to put on the rest of the shop.
Spicy.
And if you haven't seen it, here's my door sign that I messed up with adhesive, and I got this open sign. This is real neon, which is pretty cool. One of the neighbors in my building gave it to me when he moved out. So
nice.
it was kind of like a cool little bonus thing, and I just like hanging it in the door, especially because we're in the basement in like a super sketchy building. So hopefully that kind of makes it a little more welcoming, so people actually want to come in. Because when you're on this side of the door, it feels like you're in the back rooms. I mean, it's like really, really super weird. And so once you come in, it looks great, but you need to come in to see it. So I think that's about it. This is the view you're looking at without me in the way. It kind of gives you an overview of the room. I did set up just like a simple table with 2 chairs in case I need to sit down with a customer and hash out the details. If it's going to take a little longer than would be comfortable at like the service counter, then we can sit down and take care of that. But yeah, just trying to get everything as visible as possible, getting slat wall in as much as possible. In the few areas where we don't have slat wall, we did repaint to get rid of that greenish gray color, which was absolutely horrible. We've got easy access to the shop and our offices. So overall, I'm really, really happy with it. And I'm looking forward to hearing your guys' feedback to see what you think too. It wasn't that expensive. I think overall, I probably spent like $3,500 to $4,000 on like everything that you can see in this room that's new. We already had the couch, we already had this table and chairs, the fridge, the Work Pro thing. But
how much for the mannequins? Just asking for a friend.
Yeah, they were like, for the pair of them, it was like 300, 350
for the
maybe.
Yep.
For the pair of them. And
I see that pair.
that includes all the wireframe, all the slat wall, all the shelving. This little kit right here with the counters, this is actually a 70-inch vision display case, full vision display case, a cash register stand, a 48-inch service counter, and the corner stand here that has some Laser Everything kind of trinkets on it. This whole kit, unassembled, was like $700, which is really not bad. Yeah, it's great. It's really not bad at all. Oh, and this is the corner piece, and it's got a bunch of little things from just our various episodes over the year on it. Cool. Yeah, over the years. So that's kind of like my own little personal collection table. And I think that's about it. There's the front counter. There's our square point of sale. We're not using the super fancy expensive ones. So this one isn't cheap. I think it's still like $300. It's very, very good. And I can talk about the pros and cons of that maybe in a different episode. Another shot of the knives. We've got all the different types of coins out. So yeah, just trying to show everybody everything. We've kind of circled back around to the beginning here. And that's the look, I guess. I really wanted to talk a little bit more about the intricacies of the square point of sale, but I'm not going to have time to do that today for you guys. So we'll either have to do an episode about it, or maybe next week we can swing back around on the podcast and I can show you guys what the digital back end of it looks like, because there's just so much going on that you guys aren't seeing right now. I lost all my Google reviews from Monroe Laser because Google rejected my appeal for their restriction on my old business. saying it's been closed too long, essentially, and I can't reopen it and rebrand myself. So all of the 5-star reviews that I had gotten under the Monroe Laser name, which was like 150, are gone. So we're going to be starting from scratch on that. So I've been fighting with that. I've been fighting with Google Ads to get our Google advertising back up for the shop. We're going with the same strategy, a third of the budget to local, a third of the budget to state, a third of the budget to national is kind of the target. And we can talk about that in an episode. We had to get Square dashboard set up. We had to get our online store set up. We had to do inventory. There's so much stuff happening. And so I'm going to do my best to kind of circle back around as we're doing it to make sure that I can talk to you guys about it and show you guys kind of what's been going on and how I'm conducting that. So that's kind of my update.
Yep. And then
I'd really personally love to see probably, I don't know, maybe a live demo if you could of your Square, just to kind of show those things. Because like we were talking about before, like I have a Square website that I used before I got my own dedicated website. And I guess I probably wasn't really up to date on my knowledge of how that works. So having somebody like show that off might be really invaluable to somebody who's maybe not ready to commit to a dedicated website, but does use Square to process payments, because that's free, right? To open up your Square website.
It's the like starter version is free. I do pay for it, like their online like plus or whatever. I think it's like $30 a month, but what you get with it is well worth it, and it's still cheaper than Shopify. Yeah, there's a ton of benefits, like your inventory between your in-person shop and your online shop are integrated directly through the point of sale, which is amazing. And there's a lot of other little things I like about it. The websites are very simple. It's not as customizable as Shopify. It doesn't have as many apps and plugins, but for just like a bare bones online storefront that works synchronously with your brick and mortar store, it can't be beat. And I am really looking forward to talking about it. I have all the tabs open on my desktop right now. I was ready to do the demo you're asking for today.
I was wondering if, as just a thought, and I know this is where you have to be mindful with Google and that kind of stuff. When you ask people for reviews, if you get flooded with reviews on the same day, let's say 300 people, because you made a post in a group and you're like, hey, I'm looking for people to give me feedback from people who are customers, and you want legitimate feedback. Like, I'm definitely not saying get illegitimate feedback. But what I mean is, like, I made a post one that was like, hey, if you've bought anything from me in the past year, make sure that you give us some feedback, go over it, give us a like, 5 stars, take a picture if you can, yada, yada.
Yeah.
And they actually throttled it. Like, so you have to be really mindful of that. So it's one of those things where basically you do want to reach out like in maybe email fashion. So if you do have like clientele, and this is literally for Alex, I was just thinking about this. Like, if you have a client list from the past that you can email them back and say, hey, we're back in business. Also, because you should always follow up with previous customers. They already know what you do. They know your pricing. You've already got that established.
Let them know you're back open and around again.
Yeah. And this is where Alex, a long time ago, like when I first started watching the channel, like, God, like two and a half years ago or something, had said, get emails and let people keep in touch with them. That's one of those things you can do, but you can send it out in like bursts. So maybe like A through A and B, and the next one will be C and D. So just be mindful if you ever do make a post saying, hey guys, come help me out. Just saying.
Personally, I've kind of decided, like, so I did send an email to our old customer list because I had it in Square, another integration that works really, really well. So I had that list. I sent an email. Rather than asking for them to drop a new review, I just said, hey, we reopened, we rebranded, we're in the same building just down the hall. Come and see me. Like, come say hi. And I will pitch it to them when they come in. I'll say, like, hey, you had a lot of work done with us in the past. If you have a minute, drop us a fresh review. I'd really appreciate it.
Free
whatever
visit.
Yeah, totally. So, I have plans to tap that resource, but I'm going to do it really, really slowly and subtly. Bunny's right. Shouldn't be too hard to get new good reviews. It's not something I'm concerned about. It's just
on your mind.
It's just like a bummer. Yeah, it's just like a stupid bummer.
It's a bummer when you lose hundreds of reviews that you work.
It also
hard for.
is something that does put you up in a ranking though too. So it is something to think about.
It's definitely important. Resin, you don't need to apologize. We're here to help first, and show stuff second. So that's always going to be more important to us. Why is Alex starting a new store? I just wanted to reopen the shop. Miranda really is the one who should get the credit for that. She wants us to do more content that revolves around real life challenges that we're facing rather than experimental challenges that we're setting up. So the best way to do that in our minds was to just open the doors to the shop back up and let people bring me some fucked up stuff that I struggle with. I think that, and I agree, you know, ultimately, I didn't want to do it at first. I love YouTube. I love my job here. And that's all I want to do all day. And so the prospect of having to do work again kind of sucks, but I am looking forward to the challenges. And I do really believe in the value that having those kind of unexpected twists and turns in the day to day will bring to the channel. So I'm hoping you guys are looking forward to that because I think it will be interesting. And of course, we'll be doing our normal content as usual. This has been an absolute, just soul-sucking adventure getting the showroom set up, but I'm really proud of how it came out.
A week that I haven't even heard from Alex, like one straight week. I was like, hey,
Yeah.
man, he's like tired. That was like the word I got.
Yeah, Kyle asked me if I was okay today before the show. He's like, "Are you okay? We haven't talked all week." I literally haven't talked to these guys since the last time we did a podcast.
I asked Kyle yesterday. I said, "Hey, did Alex like fall over dead? Did he like what happened? You know?"
No, I'm not dead. It's just been a lot of work, and you know, we talked about this a couple weeks ago too. I also have a ton of new equipment that I'm trying to learn how to use. There's like saws and shit. I'm not a carpenter. I don't know how saws work. I'm just trying not to cut off my hands. And I bought a Cricut Joy Extra, and then I literally like threw it in the trash because I found out that Cricut limits resolution to print and cut jobs to 144 DPI when it sends your job to the printer. So I was just like neither here nor there, but I ended up replacing it with a like Caesar Juliet, which has been a dope machine. So I hope I get to show you guys that at some point too, if you're into the cutting scene. We have the Elegoo. So there's 3D printing going on. All the while we're trying to get the showroom set up to get these new jobs in, to make these new videos. So that is the update. I'm still here, guys. I'm still alive. I'm working hard for you. As always, I've got a big vision and a lot of big plans and two hands. So I'm going as fast as I can, but we should have some new stuff soon.
Yeah, I was gonna say thanks for the kind words, Laura. Said enjoyed having Matt working on the laser tonight and being engaged as well. Cool. Yeah, it's usually like lately I've just been like this has been my break, like getting to just relax and talk, but like there's literally no time this week. I've got this and then I've got coins that I still have to get designed, wrap up the design and knock those out. I'm hoping to come back from my conference. I'm gone 3 days and I'll do those next weekend because they're due to the guy the following, like Thursday. So yeah, so take some videos of that, or I'm actually probably going to tap into Anthony and his coin expertise for that, by the way. So heads up.
Okay. I'm here, man.
Yep. Oh, wait.
You got a $10 super sticker. Who can see it? Describe it. Describe it to me.
It is a cheerleader going like this.
Nice. Thank you, Laura. We appreciate your support as always.
Thank you.
All right. Well, I'm hoarse, so I think that's it. I think we're done. Does anybody else have any closing thoughts before we wrap up tonight?
If you guys enjoyed the live stream, smash the like button.
Smash the like button, please.
Get subscribed if you haven't, and hit the bell icon so you don't miss it when we go live or upload a video.
Yeah, especially the like button lets other people know the content is good, so that they consider checking it out. So make sure that you definitely hit that. Yeah, what up?
If you wanted to try out to make these, you could head over to Johnson Plastics Plus, our sponsor. Thank you guys for that.
That's right.
And so that's one of those things you can do. I will post the settings in the comments, so look for those later. For the 50-watt JPT with a 300mm lens, so makes it just like smooth like butter.
Yeah, I'm gonna be doing a Johnson Plastics Plus ordering episode soon because we need to fill out the showroom. It's, as you can see, there's a lot of empty shelf space, so that's going to be largely filled with items from JP Plus. So we'll be talking about that in the near future because that's something I desperately need to do.
Word.
There's a discount code. It's YLRZDF. You save 15% off just about everything in their shop. And there's a link to that down in the description that helps support the show. So make sure you give that a click and check out JP Plus. They're one of the reasons that we get to be here every single week on the podcast and get to make a ton of the episodes and content you guys like. So give them a visit and help the channel out. And I don't know, we did a lot of questions today. If you don't feel completely satisfied with the answer that you've gotten, or you have other questions, you can go check out the Laser Master Academy. It's the #1 way to support the channel. We've got a massive community over there. It's always growing. Kyle's like just been manning the helm over there. He's just been manhandling things and getting all the questions. Yeah, pretty much, dude. Like more or less. We also have an amazing team of volunteers that spend their days and nights trying to answer questions, and people always get responses really, really quickly. The Laser Master Academy is the #1 reason that we get to do everything that we get to do here. So if you want to support the show, make sure we can continue doing it in the future. Please go check that out. You can find out more over at masters.lasereverything.net or go to lasereverything.net/support to find out other ways you can support the channel, like Patreon, Coffee, etc., etc. I think if I talk any more tonight, I'm going to lose my voice and I have stuff to do. So thank you guys so much for being here, especially if you were here live. Really appreciate each and every one of you. And we will see you in the next one.
Bye,
Love you
guys.
guys. Night night.